And thank you for joining the FinGen Show. In this discussion today, would like to bring up the idea of entrepreneurship ecosystem. We've asked this question to many organizations all over the world and to many people involved in this ecosystem all over the place. And what was unique is that each one of them described it in the way that they saw the ecosystem. Some from a financial perspective, some from entrepreneurship support service companies, some from innovation, some from high tech, high growth, some from entrepreneurship, I'm going to call it base place entrepreneurship. Everyone was unique and everyone seems to have it their own way. And the reality is, academically, there are multiple places where you could learn about the entrepreneurship ecosystem, from Babson College to, different institutions like the NBIA and many others. And each one of them have taken, of course, what I'm going to call it an idea and said, this may be the way to look at the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So really no right or wrong per se, it's just a different way to look at it. And one of the ones that I really liked and enjoyed utilizing over the years is really the one step higher level of what I'm going to call the 6 components of entrepreneurship ecosystem. And they were defined by Babson College as policy. And this is basically, we're talking about what is the policy environment for policy to be made in the or the city or that state or that country. Some kind of policy will be part of the components of this entrepreneurship ecosystem. The second one is really finance. We're talking about here all kinds of finance, but funding, available funding, whether self-funding, customers funding, bank funding, CDFIs, which basically community development organizations in the community, or private funding, whatever other venture capitals, angels. That's another component, which is the second one. The third one is culture. Is there a culture in the community that promotes entrepreneurship? If you fail, are people going to promote you and support you? Or they're going to think, I don't want to invest in you ever again. You lost all my money. So you want to think about that. What is the culture of the city or the state or the country about entrepreneurship? Are they willing to allow you to take a risk? Do they think that you should get a job? Whatever that is, just being aware of it. Then, of course, you want to talk about support system. These are where you could find, a lot of times, this is where people think of entrepreneurship ecosystem, which is really one component of the whole system. Incubators, accelerators, economic development agencies, network, trainings, mentors, all these things are part of the support system. EIRs, and which is executives in residence or entrepreneur in residence. Then, of course, you need human capital. Are there people that you could hire? Are the people that you could go to? So that's really a 5th component of it, which is human capital. And then, of course, markets. Are there customers? Can you rent a space? All these things are part of the markets. So what you want to think about is, as you go through these 6 components, initially get the high level idea, but then start drilling down each one of them to say, can I go ahead and think about each one of these components, and do I have a place or a voice in each one of them to make things happen? So if you don't have a policy, can we create a coalition of us to start voicing our concerns to make sure that something can happen about policy? Maybe there's no policy in place to create venture capital. Maybe there's no policy in place to allow people to start a business easily, right? Maybe it takes you 2 months to get licensed, 3 months to get licensed, or whatever the might require so much documentation that you decide never to go after that business idea. Think about how you could do that. About finance, same idea here applies. So the reason I want to bring this up, because as we continue to, to face the challenge that we face today, you really want to understand the ecosystem and the components that affect it and how to work with each other. And also make sure that you're inclusive, because in many times when you are focused on base place entrepreneurship, meaning a retail store, a restaurant, some kind of physical building, or a tech company, high tech, high growth is usually what, or I'm going to say different kinds of entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, underserved community entrepreneurs, immigrant entrepreneurs, minority groups. The list is long. Whatever that case is, you want to think about what are all the components that I need for that ecosystem. Ecosystem is not one or two things. It's really a cohesiveness of a bunch of things. I always use this example as if you look outside and you see what's happening. An ecosystem is the air, the cloud, the buildings, the people, the animals, everything is really part of the ecosystem. These are 6 high levels. Each, if you want to visit a little bit more and dig deep each one of them, it gives you a little bit more details about each one to really start digging deep and saying, can I list a few things? And initially you might think, we don't have all this stuff. We just have this. And what I've discovered, having done this in over 60 some countries, is actually all of those components exist. Now, whether you like them or not, that's a different story. And whether they have more of one, less of the other is a different story, but they do exist. And sometimes maybe not to the 100%, so maybe there's 1% of its existence, but it exists because if there's a business, that means some kind of system exists to support the system. So I would encourage you to think about that as you build your entrepreneurship ecosystem. And of course, we do tons of these entrepreneurship ecosystem development as far as training to get people to understand more of it, and many other organizations do. And there are wonderful books out there about ecosystem, but I would also caution you is to make sure that you're exposing yourself to other ideas so that you're not fitting into one way of thinking about this entrepreneurship ecosystem. Thank you for joining. Looking forward to seeing you soon.